When we think about artificial intelligence, we usually picture it as a tool, right? Something that helps us do our jobs better, faster, smarter. But what happens when the AI isn't just an assistant, but the executive? When it's not just running the numbers, but actually running the company? Well, this isn't some far-off sci-fi scenario. It's happening right now. And it brings up a huge question. Who writes the rules for a robot CEO?
And if you think I'm exaggerating, well, take a look at this. This is not a forecast, this is a fact. Since way back in 2014, companies have been putting AI systems into senior roles. I mean, we've got Vital, an AI that sits on the board of a venture capital firm, literally helping to make investment decisions. And then there's Mika, the world's first humanoid robot CEO. Yes, CEO of a global company. So no, these are not hypotheticals. This is the new face of the boardroom.
And this, of course, brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. If an algorithm is calling the shots on huge, high-stakes decisions, how in the world do we make sure it's being compliant, that it's ethical, that it's actually following our laws and company policies? How do you build guardrails for a mind that's made of pure code? What we're seeing here is a massive, fundamental shift. For decades, AI has been a support system, right? An analyst crunching data that a human director then interprets. But now we are handing over the keys. We are giving AI control of the decision-making process itself. And that leap in autonomy is what makes having a new rulebook not just important, but absolutely essential. So how do we even begin to manage our new AI managers? Well, luckily, some very smart people are already on it, building the blueprints. We're about to walk through a proposed framework from our source material, a really comprehensive model designed to develop, roll out, and most importantly, safely manage these autonomous AI systems. Okay, so here's the model at a glance. It's a 6-step process, and you can think of it as a complete life cycle for an AI executive. And the order here is really critical. It starts by creating a shared dictionary so the AI can even understand our language. Then you have to define the context. That's all the rules and policies, but in a machine-readable format. Next, it needs data to practice on, but safe, synthetic data. And only after all that can it move on to learning, then decision-making, and finally designing the interface for how it tells us what it's decided. All right, let's dive into what is arguably the most foundational piece of this whole framework. I mean, how do you take all of our complex, nuanced human regulations, our laws, our ethics, our corporate policies, and translate them into something a machine can actually understand and obey? The answer lies in this really fascinating field called computational law. And the core idea here is all about turning law into logic. It's the process of taking dense legal texts and boiling them down into precise algorithms. That way, a computer can take raw data as an input and spit out a valid legal conclusion as an output. Simply put, it's law, but written in the native language of machines. And what's wild is that this idea isn't even new. Philosophers and mathematicians like Leibniz were dreaming about algorithmic laws way back in the 17th century. They just, didn't have the tech. Today, we actually see a simple version of this in action with modern tax law, which really just relies on mathematical formulas that don't leave a lot of room for interpretation. So, how does this actually work inside the model? Well, think of it like this. A company has its regular employee handbook, right? Written in plain English for humans. Under this framework, that company would create a second, parallel handbook just for the AI. This dedicated operational context translates all those same policies into machine-readable code, giving the AI a super clear, unambiguous set of rules to follow. Okay, so the AI has its rulebook. That's great. But a rulebook isn't enough. It needs experience. It needs to see training data to learn what things like fraud or misconduct actually look like in the wild. And this creates a huge problem. You can't exactly train your brand new AI executive on your company's most sensitive, confidential data about past scandals, can you? This is where the solution gets incredibly clever, and it covers both the data and the learning steps of our model. Researchers turned to the infamous Enron scandal. They fed real examples of misconduct from the Enron email archive into a language model. That model then generated hundreds of brand new synthetic emails that looked and sounded just like the fraudulent ones. This safe artificial data was then used to train the AI to spot patterns of wrongdoing. And guess what? It worked. When they tested it on the real Enron archive, the AI correctly flagged the shady messages. It learned to be ethical without ever having to touch sensitive, live company data. Pretty smart. So after the AI has learned and made a decision, often using really complex strategies like game theory, we get to the final piece of the model, the interface. How do we actually talk to our new boss? Now, while the humanoid robots get all the media attention, this survey of actual corporate directors is pretty telling. For the day-to-day grind, most execs would prefer a simple text or audio interface. It seems the form is way less important than the function, and just having clear communication. So, we've walked through a model for a single AI executive. But now let's zoom out, because figuring out how to govern an AI in the boardroom has massive implications for how we'll eventually govern AI across our entire society. This isn't just about corporate policy anymore. This is about shaping our future with these incredibly powerful technologies. And this is why this whole topic matters so much. The source material makes a really powerful claim here, that developing high-quality computational law isn't just a good idea for business, it's a vital condition for the future of human civilization. As these intelligent systems get woven deeper and deeper into our lives, our ability to embed our laws and our values into their actual code becomes absolutely critical. Let's be real, the stakes are incredibly high. Philosophers and technologists have been warning us about the technological singularity, that hypothetical moment when artificial intelligence rockets past human intelligence, leading to, well, unpredictable consequences. The dangers they talk about are profound, from arms races between super intelligent machines to existential risks that could literally end the human era. And this is where we land. As the philosopher David Chalmers puts it, even if there's just a small chance of a singularity happening, the consequences are so enormous that we have a responsibility to act now. We have to think about how we can steer these outcomes in a positive direction. And models like the one we've just discussed, these frameworks for building rules, ethics, and control into our AIs from the very beginning, they are our first and maybe our best attempt to do exactly that. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The AIs are already in the boardroom. The blueprints for how to govern them are being drawn up as we speak. The question is no longer if we will have AI decision makers, but how we will guide them. So are we ready? Are we ready to sit down and write the employee handbooks for our new intelligent colleagues? Because the conversation starts now.